Jean-Luc Godard, filmmaker, born 1930, Paris. His films include Breathless, The Little Soldier, The Outsiders, Alphaville, and most recently, Pierrot le Fou. Godard spent his early life in Switzerland. His upbringing was middle class. His father was a doctor, and his mother came from a banking family. He came to Paris in his 20s to study ethnology at the Sorbonne University. In Paris, he fell in with a group of young film fanatics, including Claude Chabrol and François Truffaut, both of whom were to become famous in the so-called new wave of young French directors. It would be a mistake to underestimate the atmosphere of Paris itself in Godard's history. In Paris, the cinema is something of a cult. As might be expected, the French were among the first to intellectualize about films. In the 1930s, they opened a national film archive and museum, the Cinémathèque Française, which became the Mecca for French film fanatics. The Cinémathèque employs many of the cinema's old-timers and houses much of the early film equipment. It also has 2 cinemas, where as many as 8 different films are shown a day. Instead of studying at the Sorbonne, Godard used his tuition money to become one of Paris's leading moviegoers and rarely attended class at all. He and his friends went daily to the Cinémathèque's theatres, not because it was smart, but because they loved films. They delighted in the darkness of the theatre. Parisians aptly called them cinema rats, and it wasn't unknown for fights to break out during films by the more controversial directors. Godard was obsessed by American gangster films, and although in his early years he saturated himself in films of all kinds, comedies, adventure stories, westerns, even musicals, the gangster film is still one of the biggest influences on him. He himself has the look of a 30s gangster with his dark glasses and dangling corn paper cigarettes. François Truffaut says that in those days, Godard was capable of going to see 15 minutes of 5 different films in the same afternoon. In this way, he became an expert on the work of such directors as Howard Hawks, Frank Tashlin, Max O'Fool, Fritz Lang, Roberto Rossellini, and Alfred Hitchcock. In the mid-50s, Godard, Truffaut, and Chabrol became critics for Cahiers du Cinéma, the highbrow film magazine. In his articles, Godard consistently attacked French directors while praising the Americans, who were regarded by most other people as entertainment hacks. Michel Delahaye, a contributor to Cahiers du Cinéma, talks of the critical mood in France at that time.
À l'époque, le cinéma français était dans un état de stagnation totale et Hollywood était encore très vigoureux. Or, le cinéma français, en France tout au moins, était très surestimé et le cinéma américain, généralement en Europe, très sous-estimé. Les positions de Godard, Truffaut et de quelques autres, il y avait aussi Chabrol, de Givray, Charles Beach, étaient quelquefois violentes, polémiques, quelquefois un peu paradoxales, mais c'était nécessaire pour imposer cette idée d'une revalorisation de l'opinion généralement admise. Et aussi, il se servait un peu du cinéma américain comme cheval de bataille pour imposer, à propos du cas particulier du cinéma américain, des idées, des valeurs qui valaient pour l'ensemble du cinéma.
In 1959, with Truffaut's assistance, Godard made his first feature film, Breathless. It was a great box office success and launched Godard on his prolific and controversial career as a low-budget feature film director. It cost only £40,000 to make, not a lot in the film industry. Godard saves money by working mainly on location. He works quickly, spontaneously, often without a script, and he rarely uses expensive stars. Godard's second major film, The Little Soldier, starred a model, Anna Karina, who has since appeared in several other of his films. Karina had previously worked for Pierre Cardin's fashion house, but Godard first saw her in a soap commercial. They married in 1961. It hasn't been an entirely happy marriage, and his films have often been considered as an emotional barometer of their relationship. Jean-Luc Godard has made 10 feature films in 5 years. 3 of them have won major film awards. At 35, he's one of the world's most advanced filmmakers. He's also one of the most controversial.
A film is automatically a fragment, even a classical movie, because it's parted in two pieces. One close-up is a piece, and a long shot after is another piece. So this is two fragments. But maybe in my movie, people are aware of it, and in other movies, they try a classical movie, in a movie in which they try to make the audience forget that a movie is a pieces. But I think anyway it's pieces of the world, so why mask, why avoid it?
How much license do you allow actors? Do you improvise with them? Do you put words into their mouths, or are they allowed to find their own words?
Oh no, I put words in their mouth, but I don't care they change, and I don't ask them the way to pronounce it. I ask them to find some way to pronounce it or to act it, and then I can correct them after.
Do you vary very much from
It's exactly like war. I consider very well myself as a commando officer, and I've ordered to take a small village, and I ask my men go to and take it. I don't know how. I can't prevent them if there is some enemy shooting at them beyond the tree. I don't know. But in the movie, they want to know everything. They want to know, and I say to them, you are doing the same job than a soldier, but you have a great advantage. You are paid, and you are not going to die. So it's really a great advantage. But you are doing the same thing.
Yeah.
You have to go in unknown country, a lot of danger. You must be ready to react with your own personality to that.
Do you work in a studio?
I wish I could, but it's in France at least. It's too expensive. Some of my movies, I wish I've done them in studio, but it will have increased the cost of the movie 10 or 100 times. But sometimes it's much better to work in studio because you can more control everything.
When it comes to editing, do you control it very tightly yourself?
Oh yes, in France everybody does. If he wants to, he can. And I'm doing it because for me, movies in two parts. There is writing is less movie. I think it's more, so I don't write anymore very much. But shooting is 50%, and then editing is the other 50%, with mixing too.
Does it worry you when you only communicate to a very small audience?
No, not so much, no.
Does it?
No, not.
I mean your films, your ideas.
I think they are communicating all right for the moment.
Would you like to make, most of your pictures have been fairly small budget pictures. Would you like to make bigger budget films?
Yes, of course, but I think I will never do because as soon as you have $1 million involved in a movie, you are no more free. There is too many people, bankers, lawyers, and so you are no more, it's impossible. You have to deal with too many things, and you can do only certain things.
Would you like to work in America, and have you had any offers?
I wish I could, but they work in such a different way. I think I'll never be able, even if I agree with a producer, I will not agree with the editor, for example. They are used to so many rules and in so many years that I don't think it will be possible. I wish I could work in a Hollywood studio because they have the best equipment.
You have a great admiration from your early days as a critic for the American cinema. Why specifically the American cinema?
Because it was not an intellectual one. As I said once, we Europeans have movies in our head, and American have movies in their blood.
Sorry, I didn't...
In their blood?
Blood.
Blood.
And what do you mean by this specifically?
Well, they don't have to think at what they are doing to criticize it. They have a naive feeling of what very naive and simple men can become a very good directors in Hollywood. Maybe not now, but before. In Europe, it's not so easy because we have such a we have centuries and centuries of culture behind us. We have to think about things. We can't just do things like that. In America, it's, everything was new, so they can invent without asking questions about it.
Do you think then that cinema should not be intellectual?
I think, no, it's a natural thing for Europeans to be intellectual. And it's deeply unnatural for American people to be intellectual. When an American director became intellectual, it became awful. And you just have to work in your own way and be yourself.
There are many people, of course, who hate Godard's films. They are often passionately attacked by the critics, particularly by French critics. The critic for Le Figaro had this to say about his film, The Soldiers. The atmosphere is one of intellectual nothingness. The interminable silences are broken now and then by a few falsely ironic remarks, lamely mumbled by amateur actors. Outrageously incoherent, this film is the work of a mind that is slow, lazy, confused, full of clouds and fog. The work of an author who is not even inspired by the desire to create anything. The critic for La Croix, when reviewing It's My Life, wrote, "There are interminable static scenes in which the characters, seen preferably from behind, exchange commonplace remarks. All this is mortally, elephantinely soporific. If it's a joke, then it's only interesting for those involved. If not, then the film is not only boring, it is also pretentious." France Observateur's review of The Little Soldier went as follows. We are read to, we are told long, boring anecdotes, and we watch the characters play little parlour games. It's pretty much a sort of show put on by some coffee bar poet, and the level is hardly any higher.
I dare say it is what he has to say, which is, I don't think he has much to say, frankly. He goes very much on hazard, I have the impression. If something arises and it pleases him, and he has enough, you know, he has some taste. That is the difficult point. So when he stumbles on something that he finds on the face of it attractive, he will stick it into his film, and he has enough know-how to carry it off. But if you scratch a little, you will see underneath that the sort of things he really thinks, he really believes in. And those I am very, very, well, those I don't like at all.
How committed do you feel as a person? I mean, outside of your films, are you politically committed in any way?
Depends what you are committed, yes, but not involved.
In politics?
Yes, I say commit. I don't say the difference. What means committing? Committed exactly in English. Interested.
With a viewpoint.
Oh yes, so I'm very much committed, but I'm not in. I don't. It doesn't go to be involved in it.
Why?
But involved, I think there is a difference. If I'm a movie maker. I'm not a soldier, or a political man, or a newspaper. As a movie maker, I can do that. I'm not. I won't ask a political man to make a movie. So political people, I can have my opinion as as a movie maker, but it's not my job to go, if we consider Indochina War or Vietnam or the Negro problem in the States, I'm committed in that sense that I say, this is my opinion, and this is what I think is right and wrong. But involved to me, I have to go to Los Angeles and to fight with somebody or to make something practical. To be practical is to make a movie for me about it.
Some people find that your films are cold or they lack humanity, and some people even say they're almost fascistic. How do you react? I mean, take the way that you treat death in a very cold, casual, brutal way.
Oh, it's a documentary way. It's a pure television or documentary way. If just by now there is an accident now near the streets, what can we do? Just have a look on it and pass by. What can we do else? This is not because we are cold or fascist, it's because we are in a car which is going in another way.
Do you set out to arouse this feeling deliberately? They make the feeling of there are no answers deliberately?
There is answer, but I can't answer in 1 hour and a half for a whole life of some in which 10 million people are involved.